This is our 4th online meeting, and very happy to see some new faces this morning that haven't been able to attend in the past. And we've got a fun meeting planned today. But before I get too far into the festivities here, Roxanne, get ready for your moment of inspiration. I just want to take a minute to call out the Picornis for their 53rd wedding anniversary that occurred this week. So big old congratulations to them. Yeah.
It was very low key.
Yeah. By force, right?
Yeah, by force.
Yeah. All right. So that's the first thing I want to make sure not to forget to do. So, Roxanne, if you're ready with the moment of inspiration, we are ready for you.
Sure. When you attain a sense of undefeatability, you will always be high-spirited. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Spirit is taken out of you when you allow yourself to be overwhelmed or nonplussed and defeated by the circumstances and conditions of daily living. The secret is to get yourself firmly based on spiritual understanding, on faith and good, then nothing can defeat you.
Amen.
Wonderful.
Lauren Vincent Peale.
Very nice. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so next we have This Week in History, and Marilyn is going to deliver that for us today.
I am. Today is the 106th day of the year. There are 259 more days to go. On April the 13th, 1970, Apollo 13's oxygen tank busted, and they had to come back via their lunar landing. 1964, on April 13th, Sidney Poitier won Best Actor for Lilies of the Field. And also on the 13th, Tiger, what's Tiger's last name?
Woods.
Tiger.
Woods.
Woods, yes, thank you. Won the Masters as the youngest person to have ever won the Masters in 1997. He was 21. On April 14th, he also won the Masters, and it's the first time that ever happened back to back. On April 15th, besides the Picornis marrying in 1967, that kind of also in history. The Titanic sunk, and with 1,500 people on the Titanic perished on April 15th, 1912. On April 16th, there was a whole bunch of news about the port of Texas City in Texas, about the huge explosion in 1947. One of the largest non-nuclear explosions, killing over 600 people and injuring over 3,000. There was just tons and tons of information about that explosion on the internet. April 16th, 1943, Dr. Albert Hoffman took a trip. He discovered LSD in 1943, and was out of it for 2 hours.
That's an important moment.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
April 16th, 1922, Annie Oakley shot 100 consecutive clay shots, being the first woman to ever have broken that record. Famous birthdays in history today: Wilbur Wright, Charlie Chaplin, Pope Benedict turns 93 today, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar turned 73. And that is today in history.
Yeah,
Nice.
very good. Thank you, Marilyn. I'm especially
Thank
happy to know about the trip that
Yeah.
Timothy Leary took.
Yeah.
All right. So, Club, we do have a guest speaker today, but before I turn it over to John to introduce him, I just want to share a couple of quick announcements, mostly having to do with your club's efforts with regards to the coronavirus. The board of directors met on Tuesday, and as you know, we had already decided that we were going to donate $500 worth of supplies to the Salvation Army, which Mark is taking care of. I know that a partial delivery was made, and there were limits on things that could be purchased at that time, so I thought that the plan was for us to go out and purchase more as soon as those things were available to us.
Yeah, I actually purchased about $500. It's close to $500.
Perfect. That's
need to do a little bit more. But.
Yeah, that's wonderful. At the board of directors, we had a visitor on. Ms. Deanna Perkins joined us, and she was telling us about the masks that she's been making through an organization called Masks Against 19. And so the club voted to make a donation to that initiative of $200, and our treasurer has already made that donation online.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Happy to do it. And then the third thing that we have done is we are making an $800 donation to CCA. And so I've been in communication with them on what their needs were. We were wondering if they needed product or cash or what their preference was. They're happy to have anything, but she said that cash makes it a little easier in terms of people not having to go out and shop and so on and so forth. And in addition to the meals that they're supplying to families in need, she let me know that they're also helping with things like utilities and housing payments and that kind of thing. So you can't really do that with products, so cash seemed the better option. We're working with, Terry has reached out to Central Elementary School to try to determine if there's a family in need in our little adopted school that we might be able to help out. And so if you have another worthy cause, we do have some funds available due to the fact that we're not meeting face-to-face and spending our weekly allotment of dollars on breakfast. And so those funds can be put to good use. So if you have something that's really near and dear to your heart, especially something that has to do with COVID-19, feeding children, those kinds of things, please send me an email so that we can consider it on the board and determine which ones make the most sense. So just a quick update to let you know what we've done so far. And so now I'm really happy to hear from our guest speaker. So John, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce Stephen.
Thank you, Tom. Just before I get started to introduce Steve, I want to let you know that Steve had a nice little PowerPoint presentation, but when I click on the share screen, it says there's an error, try again later. So Steve, you're going to have to do it without people seeing the PowerPoint presentation. I'm sure you can.
No. Can you, I sent it to you. Why don't you open it up?
Well, no, that's what I say. I can, but it won't let me, the Zoom won't let me share my screen.
Steve, can you share your screen?
No, I can't get to the share screen, period.
No, I'm asking Steve if he can do it from his.
Well, he can try.
I've got it up. If you allow me to share it.
If
Yeah,
you,
that's what I say. I can't even get into the function that allows me to share it with you.
Yeah, so if you touch your screen, Steve, or however you get the menu up for doing things like muting, there's a share content button.
Right, but John's the host. John would have to make Steve the host in order for that to work.
Oh.
Or we could just listen to you, Steve, while you
Well,
tell us.
that's my suggestion.
No, I mean, it's really, really wanted to connect with you with the pictures.
Well, there we go. Looks like you're
See?
doing
Now
So
we're cooking.
Jeff was able to do it, so I got to believe Steve can do it.
Oh, okay.
Jeff, you probably have to stop sharing your screen. in order for it to be visible.
Okay, across the top, I've got mute, unmute. I've got the video, and
There's no share content button.
Right at the bottom middle.
minimize video.
Technology.
Just move your mouse near the bottom.
As I always say, technology is a wonderful thing when it works.
Yeah, I suspect if I went out and came back in, I could, but I'm afraid I'd disconnect everybody. So that's why I'm,
Yeah, you probably would.
as the host, I probably would.
I think you can pass the host on to somebody else, though.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, I can't even get to the screen that allows me to do that.
Ah,
John, can you email the presentation to like Jeff, since we know he just shared his screen?
Well, there you go. That's a good idea. Let me try that.
All right. Life is short. Smile while you have teeth. Who's the right this morning?
so while we do that, Steve, I'm going to put you on hold for just a little bit. We'll take care of some other club business while we're dealing with technology.
Sure.
At the Board of Directors meeting on Tuesday, we also talked a lot about the flag lease program. And so, Mark, you've kind of been spearheading a little bit of that. Why don't you tell the group what we've got going on?
So there's a couple of things. One thing we were looking at was some different sign options, maybe having yard signs that we could display either in people's yards or around the strategic locations. And so there's a lot of different options that are flying around right now that we need to decide on and see if that's the way we want to go. There's also little brochure holders that we thought about putting on flagpoles, where we could have little flyers. People could take those and pull them out of the little boxes on the flag stands to give them more information about subscribing to the program as well. You know, and then additional talk about just other ways of advertising as well that we need to look into. Also, we talked about maybe during this time, going out and putting flags out early, a little bit early into people's yards, and just leaving them out there for a while, just to, since there's kind of a patriotic spirit going on right now, and kind of help promote that a little bit and help, you know, kind of get the flags out into the community.
Right.
So I think those were the kind of the key things that we talked about.
Yeah, exactly right. The thing about putting the flags out now is, you know, that we kind of feel like there's a lot of hope going on at the moment, where you know, maybe we're going to be released from this quarantine, and so just an additional sign of hope. And Terry is working with Mary on sending out an inspirational kind of email to our subscribers to let them know why their flags are being delivered early. So, all right. So, John, any success in getting that to?
I sent it to Jeff. Jeff, if you can look at your email and see if you can't bring it up on your screen.
Didn't come yet.
And while we're waiting, I do have a question. Is anyone picking up the mail from the mailbox?
I am
What are you doing with it?
hanging on to it, shredding it, coloring on it.
Is there any money in there?
There's been no money. Trust me, I'd have told you.
How about any bills? How about any bills to pay?
No bills to pay either.
Okay, that's good. So it's a wash. That's awesome.
Harry, are you trying to say that we need to pay our bill, in other words?
No, I don't need any bills. No, no bills. Or Joe's or Mike's or anything like that. Just
Like, I'd be happy to send you some.
Yeah.
Hey, since we're sitting here, I talked to Michael Cheney yesterday. Is he on by any chance?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm
Michael, didn't you want to talk today a little bit about what you were able to do with Modern Wood?
Oh, right. So, yeah, last Thursday, John got me in touch with a nice lady at St. Philip's, and he ended up giving me, or having somebody else call me, but they were able to basically get me in touch with a gentleman who is going through a hard time right now on his hours. Not only is he's going through some family stuff, he has a young daughter, and his wife is in a mental institution, and so got in contact with somebody, got him a card so he can go buy groceries for him. But learning more about the situation, I felt like we could just do a little bit more. So I went over to his place. I learned that he was behind on his rent, so we ended up covering the rest of his rent for April. So he didn't have to worry about that. So thank you, John, for putting that together.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
So I was really happy that we were able to do that for him. So.
It just goes again to show the power of Rotary. You know, even though that wasn't necessarily a Rotary intervention directly with the cash, but because we know each other and trust each other, we were able to help somebody.
Exactly. Somebody in need. Somebody, you know, he works for a True Green service, but they cut his hours in half, so he's not able to keep up with his bills and stuff. And so he just a good, hardworking guy, just in a bind with his wife, you know, being in and out of the mental institution, and his young daughter. So just really happy that we were able to help him out. I think, you know, another good Rotary moment there because of that. So.
That's terrific.
That's great.
So two things about that. Number one, it makes me really happy that you all were able to connect. The other thing that makes me really happy is to see just how tall Michael Cheney's hair is standing these days.
I need a haircut so badly. It's so tall.
Thanks for the giggle. I appreciate you.
I don't know what to do with it. If I don't, it just looks like this. So I don't know what to do.
All right, and I see we have Stephen's screen finally. So, Stephen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, before you do that, let me do his bio.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, we've been working with Salvation Army for a while now, and I think even Steve has talked to us once before, but just to remind everybody, he comes to us with a great deal of experience. He managed the super centers in Alaska for years. Sometime when we have more time, it'd be good to find out what living in Alaska is like. Worked in private brand sales and marketing for 10 years, managing brand development for U.S. retailers. He worked for sales and marketing branded market solutions as a VP of sales and marketing in North America. He's worked for a Salvation Army for 4 years now. Started as a director of operations for the Louisville Social Service Center, and for the past 2 years has had responsibility for Denton County Social Services, with responsibility for the Louisville Social Services Center, as well as the Salvation Army Denton Shelter, which Steve's going to tell us about. Also in charge of the Denton County Emergency Disaster Response Team. So with that, I give you all my good friend, Stephen Thomas.
Thank you, John. Does everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. thank you for inviting me, John. And you know, this is a very difficult time for all of us here. The changes that we've had to make, but you know, the heart of Salvation Army is to help those in need, and so we're leaning in as hard as we can, as appropriately and effectively as we can. And I just wanted to share with you some of the things that we've done, had to do, you know, to best serve. So, you know, first of all, I wanted to have you understand, again, our mission is to feed, to clothe, to comfort, to care, to rebuild broken homes and broken lives, walking with the addicted to lead them to recovery, fighting hunger and poverty, feeding and nurturing the spirit. So preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human needs in his name without discrimination. So that's who we are. That's what we do every day. So to start with, I just wanted to give you a sense. This is from last night, updated, 547 cases in Denton County, 14 deaths, 182 recoveries. I guess Dallas County stopped counting recoveries because they weren't getting really good information coming from a lot of different sources. So, but you can see it's pretty serious. 601 in North Texas, recovering, and 111 deaths. The bubble map that you see, and I don't know how well it's shown to you, but you can see, you know, our area, and Denton is really a hot spot. Some of that comes from the fact that you've got, you know, a couple of universities right there, and with spring break and such, and the youth seem to feel like they're invincible. I guess I remembered those days also when I was there, but you can see, you know, it's still, you know, very, very serious. I mean, we haven't peaked yet, I don't think, and I think we're supposed to in the next week or two, but we've had to change our protocols. Of course, the CDC protocols, we have to wear masks and gloves. I just don't have a mask on right now, but I like wearing a mask because it covers up my mug, and a lot of times that's a good idea. The protocols on masks and gloves, and the 6 feet apart, and the social distancing, and disinfecting everything that gets touched at least once an hour, and just right after it gets touched. I mean, and we're just pretty maniacal about following the protocols, of course, and that's for our safety and the clients and staff and volunteers, and making sure everybody knows we're doing all that we can to be safe. So volunteers, we had over 250 every 2 weeks, serving in various programs that we had, and we're down to a handful each day, but we're doing all that we can with those handful. We have to put everybody outside, so nobody comes inside our administration building. They're in the queue 10 feet apart in the chairs and beyond. It's you know, it's been difficult, but we continue to serve over 200 people a day, which is so amazing because I've lost 2 staff members. So essentially I have one in administration and one in feeding. And but we have some faithful volunteers, keep them from any contact with clients, just doing the things from the background, like building the meals, the hot, nutritious meals. You know, it's just it's working with you know, by the grace of God, actually. So food pantry, personal hygiene, personal care items, the diapers, we're all given out each day. These our clothing assistance program has been on pause since the protocols were put in place, and we still give out socks, underwear, shoes, and coats the last couple of nights, 2 nights ago. I mean, it got seriously cold, especially for the homeless, as you can imagine. So we're handing out the essentials in that regard. We still accept dry groceries and personal care and hygiene items, but we're stopping the receiving of donations like clothing and household goods. We have new clients where it's averaging 20 to 30 a day, and so we're serving over 200, and that number continues to grow. So it's getting more and more difficult to help people in a more timely fashion, but we're doing all that we can right now. So we did I used the emergency disaster canteen to do some case management. That's utility assistance, rent assistance, pharmacy, prescription drugs, transportation assistance, and had clients on one end and then 20 feet apart for the case manager. But now we're doing all our emergency financial assistance. Basically, the screening is done by email, phone, in the drop-offs in person. So that's what's working now. Like I said, we have most of our volunteers are 50 years old and older, and more at risk than others with the virus. So this is a look at our feeding center building, and I'm showing this part because this is where people walk down that sidewalk. There's 6 feet apart. We've got lines painted. I'm sorry?
Should my picture come up? You're pointing at something.
It says PD Row. That's you.
Oh, okay.
Are we okay?
Yes.
Okay.
We have somebody.
Should the screen be? I'm still on the coronavirus county update screen.
Yeah, so am I.
Okay. All right.
All right, I'm in. This is Gordon.
Hi, Gordon.
I had to go a long way around, but I got in.
All right. Well, we've got Stephan from the Salvation Army making his presentation. So thanks for joining.
So Bob, are you still on that screen?
I am.
I am
still
too.
I'm still on that screen too. So.
Wow.
I think we all are.
Okay, I'm resume slideshow and clicking on the next one. I wonder if it's.
Why don't you try stopping to share your screen and then resharing it, Stephan?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
There you go.
We're back on the first slide?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, are we on the corona slide?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So next
there
slide?
we go.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay. So this is showing the outside wherever the seating is 6 feet apart, how we follow the protocols. The next, again, 20 to 30 more per day. Do you have that slide? 100 people serve. Okay, good. All right, and then a use of the emergency canteen. I just started, just making sure we couldn't use inside the building, but 20 feet apart inside the canteen and wiping down everything every time a client comes in and out. But now we've moved to everything virtual, everything electronic and by phone, and then the drop off, the paperwork that's needed after that. So feeding. So we've marked off, every 6 feet around the building and down the sidewalk. So the queue up at noon, 11:45, is that every 6 feet. And inside we have the faithful that are building the hot nutritious meals that come out on tables right there where the cones are. And so they queue up, walk up, pick up their meal, hot nutritious meal, a dessert and a drink, and move on to the picnic tables or somewhere to consume their meal. Feeding children, we found that a lot of the low-income apartments, the kids weren't being fed. And so since we used the canteen during the summer for 50 days serving the children in Title I schools and areas, we used the canteen as a food truck and go around to feed the kids. We did this again and went to some of the low-income apartments, which include Budget Suites and Stone Creek and the Oaks, and we served over 150 kids. Next Step Center took over from there to give the food boxes so that the full family could take care of the meal. But we always love taking care of the kids and everyone in need. So moving to shelter in Denton, the Denton shelter is this is the drive-through pantry. So we're feeding, giving out over 200 packs of meals a day, and that includes produce and perishables, frozen meat, and such. We've had a 38 to 50% increase on the number of clients because of so many people who lost their jobs, that there's that need continues to grow. So we continue to look for sources to get more products so that we can give out more. We buy from Tarrant area food bank for our shelter in Denton. We use North Texas Food Bank for Louisville, and we're getting some of the food boxes to give out, in addition to a lot of the food that we consolidate into bags and boxes to give out. So the city of Denton, homeless, Monsignor King is the only other shelter in Denton County, the big shelters. It's us and them. They closed 3 weeks ago tomorrow. And so the city procured this deluxe inn to house the homeless. So there was 40 plus put in this hotel. And we moved over some of our most at-risk clients, the ones of a certain age and maybe with some underlying health concerns. And that's because they each would have their own room. And the shelter in place was put in place on the 24th of March. So we're like 22 days now in shelter in place. So our shelter, we don't let anybody in, don't let anybody out right now at the Salvation Army shelter. And the same is supposed to happen at this hotel where there's that many, 40 plus homeless there. But, what I found is they move out of there, they go across to 7-Eleven or Sonic or somewhere. And what's happened is we have three cases, confirmed cases there. And so everybody's trying to shelter in place and not get together in any way or form. I do health checks every day. I go and take temperatures of the clients. So I'm wearing an N95 mask, a double mask, and gloves, of course. And I have an infrared thermometer. So I'm taking temperatures. I'm asking the health questions. Do you have a fever, sore throat, body aches, diarrhea, those kind of questions. And so I've got an understanding of each of the clients and their health. When they give me a yes on headache or whatever, and the yeses continue, then I'm getting into a concern. Unfortunately, I've come across some of our clients in a horrible state where I've had to call 911, and it's just, but at least they got the help they needed and they're in the hospital. But it's been critical because a lot of people don't believe that it's real. Mm. And a lot of the clients, especially the homeless, they come from tent cities and just sleeping on the sidewalks or in parks. And so we're shelter in place, the hotel's shelter in place, and there is no other shelter per se with Monsignor King closing. And so what we have is the forgotten ones that are coming for our community dinner each night. We're feeding between 80 and 100 that don't have a place, a shelter, a place to go to because we're shelter in place and we can't let people in or let people out. If they leave, they can leave, but they can't come back in, and that's for safety concerns, as you can imagine. So it's been extremely hard. Hard because, those that we're serving at night, I'm walking down the line and you see some illnesses and I pull them out and I tell them I'll get them their meals if they'd stand over here. I've moved from 6 feet apart to 12 feet apart. I've made different lines at the shelter in Denton to try and, make it safer. Because the 6 feet apart didn't work because they kept moving up and telling, the guy would tap them on the back, hey, move up. So it got unsafe. So I moved it to 12 feet apart, and I have a guard, and I've procured the police each night just to sit there and watch, because we've had fights. We've had serious concerns, sickness, had to call 911, probably every other night. And it's just hard because there isn't a belief that it's real. And so every night I'm walking down telling them, and I put together this, one of these trifolds, and I'm handing it out and I'm talking to them, and then we see the illness, every night in some degree, whether there's symptoms or not, you know that the virus is there. We've had a couple leave the hotel in that Deluxe Inn hotel that were confirmed, and they went off into the tent city, and they collaborated and consolidated, and were with others and social with others. And so we know that it's just expanding, and we're still continuing to serve. We're the only hot meal every night, the community dinner, a hot, nutritious meal, the only one. And so we're very serious about keeping safe, but we're very serious about continuing to serve and try and educate these folks into this. I see women like early 20s that are pregnant, visibly pregnant, and their baby daddy's there, and they're looking for a hotel or some place to stay. And so we're doing all we can for those and more at-risk folks, but really there's no way of just placing people even in the hotel, and we can't certainly in shelter in place right now. So it's very difficult right now. It's very difficult, and we've been 23 days now in shelter in place, and so we have a lot of discontent, a lot of frustration inside our shelter, because we provide TVs and try and make it as nice as it can be inside a shelter, and three meals a day, and give them information, books and things, but there's a lot of frustration, of course, and it's hard for everyone. But we've had some successes, people leaning into family members or others that we've been able to connect with to help get them out of their situation, or at least to a safer place. But right now we're in the midst of it. We're doing all that we can, as we always do. Our needs are just the same as what CCA is. With monetary is one way, but the dry food that we're giving out every day is those staples. And I'm staying with the staples mainly because we're building boxes and bags every day, and it's best to have those that we know that our clients are going to use and need. So those food items, and then the hygiene items, of course, dental, shampoo and conditioner, shaving supplies, deodorant, diapers, baby wipes and such, bar soap, body wash, laundry detergent, toilet paper. But it's not all bad. In fact, we're encouraged by being able to help and serve. We lean in with our hearts, and we see good results. We're doing what we can with this crisis, but it is indeed a humanitarian crisis, and a crisis of naivete in a lot of ways. But it's who we are, to take care of people, and we're doing it. And I'm proud and privileged to lead at this point our efforts in Denton County. So, anybody have any questions?
So if everyone, if you hadn't noticed, John muted everybody so that we wouldn't have a lot of background noise. So if you've got a question, you need to unmute yourself. And while you're getting ready for that, Stephen, let me just say two things. First and foremost, thank you for presenting. But the fact of the matter is that it's just a monumentous task that you're in the middle of, and our hearts go out to you, and we just really hope that you have continue to have some success, and that the community rallies around.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. I do have a question. With your the food truck, or the canteen, I guess you call it, is that just a Denton County thing, or is that more? Are you guys doing that other locations, or?
So I lead the Denton County Emergency Disaster team, and we have a 30-foot canteen that can serve over 2,000 meals a day.
Okay.
So what we do with that canteen is, for the last 2 years, we do community events if there isn't a disaster. So we've done right at 100 community support events, whether it's city, county, nonprofits, Keep Louisville Beautiful, open house for Louisville Police Department,
Breakfast with
down
Santa
for homeless vets, whatever it is, we do it. And it can be open house in elementary schools or middle schools, and we're feeding hot dogs or whatever is appropriate for the event. But we have done 5.5 weeks down in Houston, for Hurricane Harvey. We've done a couple of tornadoes out in Canton. We were the first ones on the scene for Dallas during the tornadoes. I got a text from the area commander, "Can you deploy?" And that was right when the tornado was hitting in Dallas. And I got the canteen, filled it up with food and drink, and went down to Dallas. And we were the first ones on the scene. The area incident commander set up at our canteen. We were there. We served all night. The first responders, the search and rescue teams, and some of the clients, some of the people that had lost everything. They were just wandering the streets, trying to be safe. And so to answer your question, we do deploy when there is an emergency.
No, I just noticed that you were feeding, Title I kids and things like that. And I'm on the board of a nonprofit in Carrollton Farmers Branch. That's basically what we do while the kids are in school. At-risk, high-risk kids, and we have a summer camp that really allows us to get those kids out of the low-income apartment areas, bring them to us a church, and then also feed them, take them activities, stuff like that. And there's a growing need of that in that area. So I didn't know if you guys went down that far, because right now we're doing it through a small nonprofit, through a restaurant right now. But we would.
So what we've found, Michael, is I'm Denton County, so I'm doing Denton County because there is such a need, and there are other canteens throughout North Texas. Okay. I can put you in touch with that'd be awesome. A canteen that's assigned to your area. But there is such a need that we're finding that I'm on the Hunger Council. We do lean in every time we hear there's a need. Like I said, we just went out and served. It ended up being about 200 kids. Yeah, exactly. And started the program where drop-offs of boxes to feed the whole family, not just the kids in the low-income areas. Some areas, some communities do a better job than others, and it's people like yourself stepping up with the small groups to make sure that you're taking care of the need. And we do all we can, but anything I can do to help you, short of bringing the canteen.
Yeah, I would love to shoot you an email or something.
Okay, sure.
For that stuff. So
sure. Anybody else?
Hey, Stephen, this is Ray Bowens. How you doing?
Hey, Ray.
Thank you for the work that you do. A couple of things. If you could name 3 things, and I'm sure one of them that we as an individual help out, or as a Rotary Club? What
You know, I heard the mask. We get, you know, it's so great to get those masks because what's happening now that I'm doing in Denton because of the, you know, it right now it's more serious in Denton area. I'm handing out masks each night too to you know, to help keep people safer.
Wow.
But we do get a lot of the cloth masks, and they're beautiful, wonderful, and it's fun giving them out. Just making sure that people wash them at the end of the day. But you know, big thing, you know, of course, it's always money because that's flexible. We can just go get the, you know, personal hygiene, personal care items, or peanut butter, or, you know, paper towels or toilet paper that we're giving out constantly, you know, to be able to purchase. But that list that I gave you is basically the core items that we give out the most of, that we know there is that demand. You know, any ancillary items we give out too. We give out everything and that we receive. So anybody who donates, we still take, you know, dry goods and the personal care items. We can't take clothing now with the protocols and household goods, like I said. But you know, if you know of somebody that's willing to volunteer, I could certainly use volunteers, and I do keep them away from any client interaction. You know, we do have our core that just continues to serve, but like I told you earlier, I'm down to 2 staff members at this location in Louisville, and it's extremely difficult because the need is growing. And so I need to grow the volunteers that come here. And I understand people's, you know, need to stay away, you know, especially, you know, most of our volunteers are probably in their 60s and 70s. And I happen to be 65 myself, and I have some underlying conditions too, but you know, I must do what I must do and be on that front line. But I understand anyone not wanting to be there. But you know, I love the folks that are here, and I do everything I can to protect and keep people safe. So you know, I guess it's money, those core items, and if you know somebody who's willing to serve behind the curtain, love to talk to them.
Also, on this coming Saturday, the 18th, God Baptist Church will be serving again on behalf with the North Texas Food Bank. Starts soon, so if you know anyone, we'll be having we have enough food for about 400 people.
Yeah.
Anyone that you know that needs a need of food, and it's going to be a first come, first served basis.
So Ray, it's awesome. Westside, you know, we work with Westside, you know, so well,
yes.
And we always, you know, we always broadcast, you know, when you have an event, you know, the produce and the dry goods and such, and the giveaways, and we're just so thankful you're there to help the community too. And so we get the word out, and certainly I'd love to get over there and help distribute if I could. But you know, we thank you for what they do there, for sure.
All right. Does anyone else have a question for Stephan?
I don't want to just portray negativity. I mean, I absolutely love what I do. You know, it's just hard right now. It's really hard. Sure. And but there's some successes and good things, and we got hope for the, you know, for the next step, and the next, you know, the peak starts to go down, and we get to breathe again. And but you know, it's organizations like yours that I love. You know, I feel like I'm a member of your group, even though I'm not. But you know, you're the ones I've talked to 3 times, and I feel a special affinity to you guys because you're the leaders of the community, and you know, it seems to be the best and most active group that is intentional about serving, and I appreciate it. And representing Salvation Army, I appreciate it very much.
That's very nice of you to say, and we kind of feel the same way about you. So, you know, it's interesting. Just a point that really strikes me is, you know, since I'm stuck at home a lot, I've been watching way more television than I should. I'm a news junkie, and I got to tell you, I'm not hearing much in the news about the homeless during all of this. And man, it just seems like
They don't exist.
Yeah, you know, it's sad to me because people, there's an avoidance, and you know, and there's perceptions that they're thieves, they're all drug addicts, they're, you know, it's you and me that may lose a loved one, you know, have a mental, physical, emotional disability for the moment, untreated. It's you know, it's bad, it's circumstances, it's choices that are made that affect you in the long term, more so than the bad decisions you and I make every day.
Right.
And so, but there is an avoidance, and there is that perception, and it's not that there aren't people that make bad choices over and over again. I'm not saying, and that there aren't anybody that steals or does those things that are the stereotype, but there is an avoidance to talking about it, to facing it, and that's why it makes me lean in harder.
Yeah. All right. Well, once again, thank you so much for all that you do, and thank you for the presentation today. I think everybody really.
Sorry it took so long.
Yeah, it's okay. It's quite all right.
All right. Appreciate your time, and thank you for the invite, John.
Stephen, real quick, what's your email?
Stephen, STEPHEN .Thomas, THOMAS, at USS.SalvationArmy.org.
That's an email.
Yeah, I know. It's like every meeting I go to, I have to use 2 or 3 lines when they want my email. It's like ridiculous. But it is what it is.
We need to find a way to shorten that, because maybe you're not getting donations because people get tired.
Whoa. Now you're talking. I got to change something. But appreciate you guys very much, involved, and I thank you for this time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you for presenting.
Yes. All right.
All right. Take care.
Group, we've got just a couple of announcements that I want to make, and you know, I realize that what we've done in our previous online meetings is started out with happy thoughts and went around the room, and we skipped right over that today because we had so many things going on. So let me get these announcements out of the way, and maybe we'll end with maybe a couple of happy thoughts because we're coming up at the top of the hour. So first, I want to remind 2 people of things that they signed up for next week's meeting. Oh, wait a minute. Next week is the 4th Thursday.
No, 3rd Thursday, isn't it?
No, April 2nd was the first one.
Oh, yeah.
So what do we think? Do we want to have a morning meeting next Thursday since we can't have a social activity? I feel like this is a good connection point for us.
Works for me.
Right. All right. So we'll go ahead and schedule our normal 8 o'clock time, and I'll reach out to folks for things like Moment of Inspiration and This Week in History. The next thing I want to talk about is I got an email from our district governor that I will be forwarding to everyone in the club today. It's about how an undertaking called Volunteer Surge, and it has everything to do with things that you can do to volunteer safely and in an effort to help fight the virus. So I'll get that out to everybody so that you've got the details on it. I also wanted to make sure that we mentioned the fact that the club had made a donation with regards to masks against 19. If you feel inclined and want to do that, and maybe you have some sewing skills and want to sign up. Yeah. So they have a website. It's called masksagainst19.com. So you can go there and learn about what they're doing. You can make a donation. And like I said, there's even directions on how to make a mask. So all kinds of good things there. And I think those were the only announcements that I had. So does anybody have a happy thought that they want to share before we close? Raise your hand.
Okay, I have a happy thought.
All right, you
Go ahead, or is someone
Yes.
else raising their hand and I don't see? Okay, I just want to, I'm just thrilled and flabbergasted and almost to tears that you guys are so generous in the donation to Mask Against 19, because it's just a bunch of regular people trying to do this and get masks out there, because if we're not all wearing masks when we're out there, I don't mean when you're outside taking a walk, but when you're going anywhere, it takes all of us wearing a mask for this to help. So getting them out there is a need I just never thought would be so needed. And but anyway, thank you guys. I just thank you for voting for that, and I'm just flabbergasted. And I haven't heard from them yet, but they'll be just over the moon over this. So thank you.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Well, did we miss any announcements? Does anybody have anything that I've totally taken a pause on? All right. Well, in
Hey,
that
Tom,
case,
Tom,
yes.
I did raise my hand. I'll just raise it again. I just want to say something about this club that Stephan has said. We're probably one of the smallest clubs in the area. And I know during my inauguration speech as president, you know, we talked about sometimes success does not mean that you have to be the largest. But I think that we do the best jobs, not with our hands, but with our heart, in the work that we do in this community. So I am so proud of this group, everyone individually, for the work that we do here and the thing that we represent. So I just want to encourage our group that we don't have to be the largest, but we can do the most contribution, physically, mentally, hard work, whatever it takes.
Appreciate you saying that.
Right.
I'm proud of us too.
Yeah. Okay, so let's all just pat ourselves on the back. Okay, it's kind of like a hug, right?
You guys please, I'll have to hop off here in a second, but please, keep thinking about anybody else in the community. If you hear of anybody who is going through a rough time, please let me know, and we'll try to get some help. So just, you guys keep working hard for that. So yeah, I think this is probably one of the most active clubs I've been a part of. So pretty awesome. So
You should see us in person. We're really more active in person.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. I got to hop off. I had a meeting at 9, so thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
So we have one more thing to do, and Bob Troyer, I'm going to ask you if you will lead us in the four-way test.
Four-way test.
Yes.
Things we think, say, or do. First,
Is
it
true?
true? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third,
Will it build
build
goodwill and better
Friendships
and fourth,
will be beneficial to all concerned.
and then fifth,
Make it
fun.
All right, everyone. It's great seeing your smiling faces, and you all continue to take care of yourselves.
You do as well. Bye.
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 Bye-bye.